This short show and tell is inspired by a comment on one of my show and tells of how to connect make.com with Wix, and it's about how do you get the instance ID of an app. So the use case is you own a website, you want to create a custom app just to interface with another product, which can be anything. We push things into query, we also push things into Google Analytics and so on. So this custom app is never really intended to go to market. It's just something for you to use internally, but you need the app ID in order to create a connection. So I'm going to show you how we managed to do that. I don't know whether to call it a workaround or a legitimate way of doing it, but it works. So if this helps anybody who's trying to find the app ID for an app they create, then that's good. So let me just run through the steps. I'm going to go really quickly. So we create a new app, build from scratch. It's self-hosted because we just wanted to work on our website. And obviously with the app, we want to give it some permissions. I'm going to edit all this out, but you do need some permissions, otherwise apps don't install very well. So let's just select all the data permissions because it's data you want from your website. Now here's the piece that we discovered about how to get your app ID once it's installed on the website. Let me just give this a name. As good a name as any. And now when you go to develop, click extensions. Click create an extension. Okay, click create extension, click dashboard, and then dashboard page, create on blocks. And then you see this dashboard interface. It says create a dashboard for your app, hit create extension, and just hit dashboard page because that's really what we want to do. And then you've got this dashboard page. You can change all of this and make it pretty, but I'll leave that to you. But the way we got the instance ID is to now add to this dashboard page text element. Just drag it in, edit the text, instance ID, and this should be very familiar to you because it's exactly the way that you design front-end pages. And the same as front-end pages, there's an onReady functions. And what we're going to do is this text element, we're going to give it an ID. We're going to give it an ID called instanceID text. So for those of you new to Wix, that is how the code can then reference and put information in here. And then we put some code on this page. Zoom in. So what this code does is import Wix application. Wrapped inside the onReady function, it calls this pre-made function in Wix called get decoded app instance, and then pushes that result as a value to this text box. And we found this function after much Googling on the develop with Wix application get decoded app instance as a function, and the function has no parameters, so you just call it as we've done here, and this code will be in the body of the video wherever you're watching it, or at least there'll be a link to this code. So you just put that in, and that's pretty much all you need to do. One other thing that I've done in this use case is I just deleted the widget because we don't really need anything on the front end. We just need this dashboard interface, because all this app, or in my use case, all the app does is interface with the data. It doesn't do anything on the front end of the website. So let's just release this, save and continue. Put something in here if you want, but not really important for us. And it'll then release it and create the app. And then you can install it by going down this route. I tend not to, because there's another way of doing it, and I'll show you that. So let's get out of this. So now go to your app dashboard page. When you go to develop and extensions, you'll see this is the dashboard page that we've just created. And what I tend to do at this point is just install it on a site. And I want to install it on digitizing events. These are all the permissions I gave it, agree and add. Because it has no front-end stuff, and let me show you. So you go back to apps, manage apps. This is the one we just created, app with ID. That's what we called it. And the dashboard page is on the side here, app with ID. I think you can also hit open. It should do the same thing. And with that code, it writes the instance ID for this app on this website only. So the instance ID is what identifies which website the app is actually installed on. So this number here will relate to digitizing events. If I were to install this app on a different site, then this instance ID would be very different. Actually, let me just do that just to show you. So let me just install this on the Media CTO website. Create an ad. So on the Media CTO website, this dashboard page gives me, for the app called app with ID, this instance number, whereas on digitizing events, I've got a different instance number. So it's the instance ID that tells you which site you're accessing. So I hope this is useful for anybody struggling to find instance IDs. Took us a while, but we figured it out. Thank you. So in summary, this function we found is super useful because it gives you the decoded app instance, which is the one you need to then connect with this app from external applications, automation platforms, or whatever you're trying to connect with. And it gives you the decoded app instance, because if you try and use the ID that is within an app's query string, which I have seen lots of people comment on, That is not the decoded app instance. So that is still an encoded app instance. You don't have to decode that in order to get the true app ID. This will give it to you right off the bat. So that's why we ended up using it. And the way we've used it by putting it in a dashboard just really fits our use case. You may want to use this function in a different way, but I believe that this decoded app instance function will only work once. And this next bit makes sense. It'll only work once it's installed on a site.